اوكي بار حجي كا عندنا نزحتنا حزيان نصيلخو حجي تمالي دقارصوتو مالتيو دقارصنا بحساب خوينا ناي سورة النساء ننستخم قطقطون ننستخم هرمون دبل تقسينا كنري حجي مبزحتو ابزي مسلمس ديغمو صيركايو كمدي حمال يركايو قص اخم دي تبراشوا يركا حقتلا هرما دبل يدبل يمدبلنا مسلمس حجي كن ازي حبتنا كن بسفيح اقرالص غيرا مسنا كالنا القران اياتات غيرا دنا يصلت كترينا صبم كتال
It is exceptionally unlikely that you will go to Jannah because the Quran makes wives responsible even for the suspicions and feelings of their husbands. In the Quran, in Surah 4, verse 34, we
Surah 4 verse 34 كتم ببلنا
usually have a verse here that is mistranslated to English because it's kind of embarrassing.
اجي بانجلش ترجمو خلو مسترانزليتد مالت باجاباب كابتي نتي سد مكان كيسن بدا بولو كاب عرب ناب انجلش وي كاب عرب ناب فالي ام كحزك ترجمو خلو افحوس سبلم ترجمو اجي جن اتي ترجم كمان قناته انا
Shockingly, the Sahih International Version does a fairly decent job, but of course it fixes the messy structure so that it's more easily understood. Men are in charge of women by right of what Allah has given one over the
اوكي حجي ابزي في ناي قران اي ابزي عرباتنا لام نالبات خوف دي نخلاتنا رانا خون تستغبر اذا حجي ناي قران اي ايو men are in charge of women by right of what Allah has given one over the other and what they spend for maintenance from their wealthy حجي الله انت يجيرو نتم سبوت لعلي تنانستي اغنيتو مالتي تما سبوت نتانستي كم ديتم بقرونا خلو men are in charge of women by right بزخون يكون مثل اتساب ايو لعلنا للو خبسويت من العلي اما صحاب كودسكم كم يكون عندمار اب قرمي زقابير ساب ايو كون سبيت يقول لحدي حجي اب تتركم نمسا what Allah has given one over the other and what they spend for maintenance حجي تما سبوت يعني عندكم دلو نمنا برؤن يبلعون يستيون يخدنون تدليهن سلازقبر لن كل جزء نساتهم تماسبوت حلفنا تهربون قبل عليين مالتي from their wealthy كابت هابتهم نابيون عاتن so righteous women are devotedly obedient اجيتن حقنياتات انستي انت يمكن دغبان تمازستي كهنا يغبان guarding in the husband's absence what Allah would have them guard اجي اتن كاب دخون يكون ነገር ተቆጢበን ናይ ሰውተን ጉዛአት ኮይነን ሰውተን ንኸገልግላ አይነት ፈጥነን ዳሎ but those wives اجي اتن ሰውተን በምእዘዛ ማለት but those wives from whom you fear arrogance ድሕር ካብተና ንስትኹም ድሕር ደኣኒ ከምዚ arrogance ማለት እንታይ ማለት እዩ ከምዚ ካብኣተን ድሕር ደኣኒ ጽቡቕ ዘይኮነ ባህርን ድሕር ደኣ ተዓዚብኩም ድሕር ደኣ ኣስተውዒልኩም first advise مجمرتا مخرون then if they persist نحدا بتي بتحمع باريهن نحدا قصيلن forsake them in bed كمساعتن اتقسو كبعرات تخونن ون مساعتن سغاور كبات يقولوا جنسا بينايا مسوغن اربعه نسل لو باروت كالو نابتن اربعه نابتن سلسنستو يخيد نابتن باروت اي خيد نسخا يكوننا مالتي ابعرات and finally strike them اجي strike ማለት عباي ترجم الازب يعني حدغኛ ቃል ያ እንግሊሽ strike ማለት even ولا تحرد خليها strike ማለት ከምዚ ጽፈጽፋ ምባል አይኮን strike ማለት ولا ቆርጾ ተሳካ ከተርኤና ትርጉም but if they obey you once more seek no means against them ድሕዳኒ ተማእዘናኹም ግን ካብ እንደኾነ ይኹን ምጽባእ አይድለይ እንደ Allah is ever exalted and grand ሕጂ ከመይ ገራኩም ትቆጽኦ ኣብ መንጎ እንዳኣተኹ ክብላየት እንግሊሽ ማለት ናታ ቁርብ ታፍ እንግሊሽ ዩ ኣነ ኣምቢካ ዝያዳ እንግሊሽ ኣሽም ዘለኒ ስለዚ እስማዕያ
and what they spend for maintenance from their wealth. So righteous women are devoutly obedient, guarding in the husband's absence what Allah would have them guard. But those wives from whom you fear arrogance, first advise them, then if they persist, forsake them in bed, and finally strike them. And this verse makes very clear what is considered the opposite of obedience, that is, disobedience in a woman. Here's my own translation, which is more faithful to the Arabic. The men are the custodians of the women because Allah has favored or preferred some of them over the others, and because they, that's masculine, so that means the men, spend from their wealth. Yes, this part of the verse literally says that Allah likes men more than he does women, and that one of the reasons that
ሕጂ እቲ ኣላ ናይ ሙስሊምስ ካብ ንሰብኡት ካብ ኣንስቲ ዝያዳ ንሰብኡት ይልፈቱ ምክንያቱ እቶም ሰብኡት ስራሕተኛ ስለ ዝኾኑ ነታ ኣንስቲ ከዓኒ ስለ ዝቕልብወን ስለ ዝኽድንወን ስለ ዝስልምወን ማለት እዩ
men must always have custodianship over the women is because Allah likes them more. But let's keep going. So the righteous women are obedient, guarding the unseen, that which is guarded by Allah. The Arabic here is defective, as it is so often in the Quran, but the implication is that the obedient women cover everything that Allah has told them to cover, which usually means when their husbands are gone in the presence of other men. This verse is saying that women who are obedient in at least two particular ways. Women must obey whatever man is in charge of them, and
ሕጂ እቲ ደቂ ኣንስትዮ ንሰብኡተን ምእዛዝ ክኾና ኣለወን ብናይ ኣላህ ኦቢድየንት ማለት ተገዛእቲ ክኾና ኣለወን ሰብኣይ ድበለ ትበለ
And never is a woman who doesn't have a man in charge of her in Islam. She must also veil herself in the way that Allah has commanded. Now, that's a lot more covering than most Muslim women do once you read the Hadith. The restrictions given Muhammad's day are so extreme that very few women, even in historical Islam, followed him after the death of Umar. We will get into that later. Let's keep going. And from those, this is feminine, so those women from whom you fear, this is masculine. So
ሕጂ ናብተን ካልኣይ ኣንስቲ ትኸይድ ኣላ ነተን እትፍርሕወን ተፃባእቲ እየን ተቋየቕቲ እየን ተዛረብቲ እየን ትብሎን ኣንስቲ
the men, their ill conduct. Now I have to stop here because the word that can be translated as ill conduct is actually from a root that means to rise or rise up. So the ill conduct isn't only some kind of immorality and it doesn't just mean arrogance. It means
ill conduct ሕጂ እቲ ill conduct ማለት ከምዚ ድኹርያ ከምዚ ድሓርቃ ገለኸ ማለት እዩ እምበር ከምዚ ዘመውቲ ወይ ቤት ማእዘዝ ማለት ኣይኮነን ግን ነተን ኢል ኮንዳክት ነተን ንስኻትኩም ንሰብኡተን ድቋዮቃ ድዛረባ ድምልሳ እንተደኣ ኮይነን ማለት እዩ ኢል ኮንዳክት
rising up against someone even in an emotional sense. For a woman in these circumstances, it can probably best be called quite literally uppityness. This verse is saying that if a husband even fears that his wife is feeling uppity, if he even thinks that in her heart she is rising up in resentment, he is commanded to do the following. Then admonish them, that is verbal correction, and forsake them in the bed, and strike them. Now, translations all try to soften this to make it sound like that if verbal correction or verbal abuse doesn't work, then you forsake them in their beds. And if that doesn't work, then you hit them. But it doesn't say that. It says and. This means that this verse is saying that men can do as many of these things as they want to a woman. We'll find out one restriction on this later. Now, denying a woman her marital rights was a massive, massive violation in this culture because a woman's security in her old age was largely dependent on the support of her children, especially her sons. It was a grounds for divorce in most cultures because it was denying a woman her marital rights, and that was essentially abandoning the marriage. And it was considered a much more severe crime against women than it was against a man because in most cultures a man could just marry an additional wife or divorce a woman and replace her if she wouldn't sleep with him. But in a culture in which a woman had less options, a woman might just be trapped. And so in these cultures, authorities would often order a divorce on her behalf on the basis that the husband's mistreatment of her was extreme. But the Quran says that this is what a husband should do anytime he wants to if he feels his wife is uppity. And the last words, strike them, has absolutely no implication that the striking is gentle. Lots of imams like to claim that this is just smacking her with a toothbrush or
اوكي حجي انا انت ادلي زخلق زاروت صرحت عن سلاز قلت كويس تبعت صنيحه حجي تا سترايك دبل تا سترايك مالت بالانجلش حيال قال يا ازي بتعمل حدقنيا قال سترايك مالت ولا صارت قرص عليها حجي سترايك يمي سترايك دمي بالله ابزا سوره النساء درس 34 سترايك زم مالت كمزي سلكا تنكف بلون غصنا يتبلاشون غله مالت يكون زي يقشوش يوم دلو سترايك مالت ግን حجي رايوا نيرام تركمو رايوا
hitting her with a handkerchief.
حجي كمزي بموز غيركم ويكا كمزي بمخص غيركم تنكف بلون مالت يكون.
But this is an invention totally made up. This is the same striking that Moses did to the stone with his staff to split it in two. And Surah 8 verse 12, Allah
سورة شمونت verse 10 الله انتايلو نتوم ديامون نتوم كافر انتاي غبروم سترايك مالت قنطبو صار مالت
is telling the believers to strike people on the necks using the same word, an act that in context is expected to kill them. There is no gentleness here. It's a beating that's being described.
حجي ابتي سترايك خلو كله كمزي قس غيركم كم بيحمن غيركم غلاي مالت هيكون جنتلنس تبال ابزن يلنا يللا قصاح اي اخ اليو قصاح عند اخ اليو ولا بي باش يجيرو قصاح سي اخ اليو افنጫ قرص اخ اليو يتصمت ناي قصاون كسبرو يخيل يو لكن الله ذات مالت الله فتولي.
Let's resume it. Then if they obey you, do not seek away against them. Seeking away sounds so innocent here, doesn't it? But this word seeking always refers to striving to do violence against someone or to oppress them. And Muhammad, by this point, usually uses the word way to refer to a path of violence. To strive in the way of Allah means jihad exclusively by this point in his career. So the Quran is hardly being generous here. It's just saying that if you don't fear that a woman is uppity, don't batter her viciously. And then we have the astonishingly ironic ending. Indeed, Allah is most high, most great.
Okay. نلو معنتي نمدبي نزا سورة النساء verse 34 نعا أنا مقلاتي نزي أخينا بحنسا ينيرو تمدبي حجي زي as you know وحيو كم زي في أودلكم درجة almost درجة 9 أنا خينا دلنا جنا بحج إسرائيل اقترفنا أيو أبز إسرائيل جن أزي بتعني تقامت نجارات هلو دكنستيو أكرادنا أن كم يكونكم دلوا محمد زاروا زروا نسات بس إلنا رجفناهم بينا دكنستيو أنا كاي ولا دكنستيو زخون يكون عينات كبزي ورقي أنا إذنان دي نكسرين دي وخبر حمدي بلن كم تاد أمسور نجارات إذنا متسينا بتشنتيا مساتهم صو كفالي حدثات ندم سات مالتيو ناي محمد قالوا ن فاتنا خيرفه ورقي سب هدية هابانيرا نعا زان جرزي أعرف تخوان الله ورقي مالت ندي في نزي أرجسيا دبلا ورقي كم دي فكرة إنه مسلم استكنسيون دار أنا هكيرينا سبب مكتال نزي هذا زي أقول لنا thank you على حسب الجزيرة نزي أنا